Hello, and happy Thursday to all of us. Welcome to today's community live stream on YouTube. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic. As always, we on our side are always very thrilled to host these community events as they give us the opportunity not only to have a dialogue amongst ourselves as a community, but to also work on growing and developing this global community, decentralized community, and also ensure that we put out information, education, and we inspire the community as we go through our crypto journey together. So once more, welcome to those that are able to make it to today's community event, today's live stream. We are very thrilled to have you all here with us today. And as you see, today's topic is liquidity or liquidation. Liquidation has always been a major topic in the industry. And today we're going to really highlight its effects, what it really means, what is liquidation, and what does it mean, what effect does it have in our industry, and then of course we're going to zoom in and look at our ecosystem and how we are dealing with that, right? So before we get to today's topic, of course, as you know, thank you for all the comments that are here. We're going to touch base on those at the end. We're going to kickstart with today's topic, and then we'll come full circle at the end, and then we'll go through every single comment that you wrote. So don't worry about that. And also, meanwhile, all tweets are out, community. Let's ensure that we engage with all the tweets. From Bullrun, Killer Whale, Survivor, all the tweets are out. Let's ensure that we're active on Twitter and that we engage with them as we listen in today's session. With that said, once more, welcome everyone that was able to make it today. We are thrilled having you all here today. Those that are new in the community, feel free to follow us on our social platforms. We are very active on Twitter, on YouTube, as you see today here, on Telegram, on Zoom. We are very active on various platforms. Our aim is to inform, educate, and inspire. Use these sessions as your reference point. Don't take my word for everything. Always verify, cross-reference everything that we talk about today. Our aim is always to inform, inspire, and to educate the community, because this new industry has a steep learning curve, and we need to really be on point. And we as crypto enthusiasts, we owe it to ourselves to be highly informed in various aspects, not just in the terms of cryptocurrencies, but also the macroeconomic aspects of it. We need to understand how our monetary system works, how inflation affects liquidity, how liquidity affects bull cycles and bear markets. All of those topics should be fundamental to our arsenal as far as education is concerned. And these are the topics we repeat and we educate about, we talk about, inform about on regular basis, and until we are all experts at those basic and fundamental topics that we owe to ourselves to be literally experts at in the crypto industry. With that said, community, let's get to today's topic. There's a lot to be discussed. As we say, today's topic is liquidity or liquidation. That's a choice. It's a matter of choice, community. As life in general is, we are given a free will, and that free will, we can use it however we see it fit. And we always have choices to make in life in general. This is not restricted to crypto industry. In life in general, there's always choices we make, and we'll have to live by them because they literally dictate what they have consequences. They carry consequences along with them. So if we deliberately make a deliberate choice, we have to be able to be comfortable with it and live with it. And this topic today is really going to cover how liquidity or liquidation, you pick, you make the choice. Do you want liquidity or do you want to be liquidated? That's a choice that we have to make on a daily basis. And this is hopefully by the end of today's session, it will bring us more awareness and we'll be well informed and equipped to really make the rational decisions based on our informed and educative sessions today. Like I said, always verify. Don't take my word for it. Use these sessions as a reference point and do your own research. Do your own due diligence, right? With that said, community, let's get right into today's topic. And as we're about to do so, I'd like to share my screen so we can get this going. Bear with me. All right. All right, community, as always, let's always start with the market. As we see here, we are down to 2.29 trillion market cap. We're down 1.7% roughly in the last 24 hours. As we've witnessed, we've seen Bitcoin actually hit and surpass 68,000. Now it's back into 66,800. And we'll quickly understand the reasons why. As you see here, CoinMarketCap really changed its interface, but nonetheless, you see here the Fear and Greed Index is at 60 right now. This is its highest it's been for a very long time. And you see the dominance here still. This just shows you how dominant Bitcoin is. It's closing in on 58%. That means that 58% of the entire market, which is at 2.3 trillion, Bitcoin holds that, way more than half, closing in on 58%. That just shows you how dominant Bitcoin is. This is why whatever Bitcoin does, the rest of the industry is affected as well. So the takeaway here is that the market is extremely volatile, and this volatility has an effect on traders, on market participants. And this is exactly what we're going to look at today. And that's what really causes the liquidations, right? Based on the volatility that is part of the game within the crypto industry. So one thing we need to understand here is that our last community events, we've been discussing how all these Bitcoin that is being accumulated and the talk in regards to how Bitcoin holders led by Michael Saylor is looking for options how they can use their Bitcoin in order to earn yield. And the way they want to do that is they want to be able to lend out their Bitcoin and earn interest on it, earn yield on it. And the best way to do it, of course, is through using centralized and well-established infrastructures. And that will require BlackRock's activity, JP Morgan, Coinbase, because the Coinbase is not, Michael Saylor is not trusting Coinbase 100% because of the challenges that Coinbase has been going through, and we'll quickly touch through it. So this is why when Bank of New York, Mellon, was given green light by the SEC, and of course BlackRock was behind it, led by Larry Fink, to get all these things rolling. They are the only and the first bank right now that are able to custody Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So with that said, we quickly realized that we are having two aspects here. And Bitcoin dominance is at 58%. So obviously, if you can control Bitcoin, and Ethereum is at 13.6. So if you can control these two, you're literally controlling the crypto industry, because now you're looking at over 70%. These two alone represent more than 70% of the entire market. So if you can control Bitcoin and Ethereum, you literally control the market, because who controls liquidity controls everything, right? So this just shows you that right now where we stand, there are two dilemmas that Bitcoin is facing right now. Bitcoin wants to be able to earn yield on top of sitting and waiting for its value to go up as well. So because many are taking loans, credit against their Ethereum or Bitcoin to purchase even more Bitcoin or more Ethereum. And now this brings us to today's topic. Let's get this started, because In order to start this was just to set the stage. The way economies work is that you need credit, you need liquidity. That's how economies work. And it takes two players in the industry. You need the traders, usually the retailers. They're the ones that are doing 70% of all the GDP economic transactions and activities. So you need traders, retailers, and you need money/liquidity. With these two combined, you have yourself a healthy economy. And this is just to set the stage. Most of us understand this by now, but those that are new in the community, this is just to really set the stage for us to understand. Now that we understand how economies work and how you need transactions in an economy, and transactions require liquidity, those two go hand in hand, liquidity and transactions. And usually traders, they don't have the cash in hand. They're not 100% liquid. So usually what they do is they use their assets, maybe their real estate, commodities, maybe their stocks, in this case, the Ethereum or Bitcoin, use it as collateral and then borrow against it. Before we get to that, let's first of all understand one thing. Bubbles are destined to burst. History has proven this over and over again. How do bubbles burst? Bubbles burst whenever you combine credit. You can call it credit, you can call it money, you can call it liquidity. If you combine all of that with greed, then you have yourself a secret sauce that when you combine that, it creates a bubble. So now let's understand, what is a bubble? What do we mean with a bubble? What does bubble actually mean? Well, there are asset bubbles throughout history. We always have to go back to history to realize really, to really appreciate things and understand things much better, because nothing that we are experiencing or we are going through is new. Everything we're going through today has been done before. There's nothing new under the sun. So if we really want to learn and we really want to grow, we need to understand history. We need to go back and learn from the past. But oftentimes we don't do that. So history repeats itself, thinking that it's something we've never experienced before. But if we go back, we realize, oh, this has happened before. So let's quickly just understand, what is a bubble. So a bubble is an asset. An asset bubble occurs when the price of a financial asset or commodity rises to levels that are well above their either historical norms, the asset's intrinsic value, or both, right? So a bubble is when there's so much drive into an asset, a commodity, than usual. When it literally creates a frenzy. We're going to look at that, right? And that happens usually, like I said, when there's too much credit, money, liquidity, paired with greed. Those two are the secret sauce to create a bubble. So let's look at the past bubbles, and let's just go to the last three ones, right? The last three ones, the one happened back in the 80s. This was the real estate, Japan's real estate and stock market bubble. Does this sound familiar? This is the real estate and stock market. This happened in the 80s back in Japan. The yen's 50% surge, like the yen went up by 50%. The local currency, the local fiat, in the early 1990s. And this triggered a Japanese recession in 1986. So usually it takes time, right? Until all that liquidity gets into the market. And then once there's too much liquidity, it can cause a recession. And this is exactly what happened. So, and to counter it, the government ushered in a program of monetary and fiscal stimulus. Does this all sound familiar? So in order to do all of this, you have to stimulate. How do you stimulate the economy? You print more of it. You have to print more money. So once you print more of it, what did we just say? Didn't we just say that the best recipe for bubble is add liquidity, money, credit, and pair it with greed, and then you have yourself a cocktail that is the secret sauce. And this is exactly what it says. So to counter this, the government ushered in a program of what? Monetary and fiscal stimulus. They did exactly that. So they put in money in the economy. So these measures worked so well that they fostered unbridled speculation. So it worked. So this secret sauce always works. Pair credit, money, liquidity with greed, and it works so great that it causes a bubble, right? And this is exactly what happened, both for the housing and the stock market in the 80s in Japan, right? And the bubble burst in 1991. Eventually, it took 5 years, setting the stage for Japan's subsequent years of price deflation and stagnant economic growth, known as the lost decade. So we are looking at it today. Whenever we hear all these things that we're hearing about, oh, we are high inflation, we're about to hit a recession, interest rates cuts, and all of this, these are things that have happened before, nothing new. All we need to go is a little back, 30, 40 years back, and then we see a deja vu. We see that these things happened again, and we can understand how it was navigated. And this was an opportunity. Whenever, like I said, there's a monetary and fiscal stimulus, this is great. It gives us a boom. And this boom lasted for so long, and eventually the bubble burst back in early 90s, right? So what's the next one? Right after this, you would think that humankind would learn from the bubble that just busted in 1991. But it took the dot-com bubble started right in the 90s, right when Japan was busting, the US took over. Humans, we just don't learn, do we? So same thing happened. When it comes to a sheer scale and size, few bubbles match the dot-com bubble of the 1990s, right? You would think that US would learn from the Japanese, where the housing and stock market busted. But no, of course we don't. So same thing happened again. At the time, the increasing popularity of the internet triggered a massive wave of speculation. Does this sound familiar? Like right now with the crypto, there's millions of new meme coins being launched every day. Dot-com period, there's the same thing that was happening. There's a bubble that was burst. Whenever you combine liquidity and greed, you have the secret sauce to build a bubble. So anyway, that was the next bubble, and we all know what happened then. The last one is the housing bubble as well, right? This was in 2008. So it's always the same thing. We always experience the same thing. The house prices were increasing at a record pace because why? You stimulate the economy with so much money, credit, liquidity, and paired with greed, you see how people are purchasing homes left and right, even though they won't be able to afford it. And what is always the same thing? What are the signs? The signs are always an unsustainable frenzy. Here we are again. This buzzword is unsustainable frenzy. And if we can take away anything from these three examples of bubbles, is this, exactly this. We need to watch out for unsustainability, right? Unsustainable frenzies. Whenever you see certain signs mounting that are unsustainable, you need to pay attention to that. Let's learn from history. Let's not let it repeat itself. So one more last thing that I want us to look at, just this headline right here. What's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? What's the takeaway here? So of course, every bubble is different. But one common element in most bubbles is the willingness to participate, to suspend disbelief, and to steadfastly ignore the increasing number of cautionary signs. Here we are again. They're basically saying the same thing that we just read up here in terms of unsustainable frenzy. So all common sense and all the fundamentals are being kicked out of the window, and everybody's just going crazy. And for those that have not gone through a bull market, it's literally hard to resist because there's just so much liquidity, so much money everywhere. Everything is booming, everything is going up. If you're not ready mentally, if you're not informed and educated and prepared, you lose yourself. And so that's why every bubble, people just tend to ignore fundamentals and ignore just common sense. And they suspend every disbelief and ignore the increasing number of cautionary signs. Even though they see these signs, they ignore them, right? So another is that the bigger the bubble, the greater the damage it inflicts when it bursts. But I also have to say that the bigger the bubble, the more opportunity, the bigger the opportunity, of course, as well. So always look at things for the opportunities that you get, because don't let a bubble go to waste. Always make the best out of these bubbles. So another thing that we need to understand here is that we need to hold valuable lessons. We need to hold these valuable lessons, and we should heed to all these valuable lessons that we had from the 5 biggest historical bubbles. We need to learn to take advantage of history and learn and see what they did or what happened, what transpired during these bubbles. So like I said, a bubble is not necessarily a negative thing. It's a good thing if you are informed and aware of how to navigate through a bubble. But if you just in this frenzy and you're ignoring all this rationale and cautionary signs, then you lose yourself. And instead of having the liquidity, you will be liquidated, right? So this really brings us now into today's topic, right? It is liquidity or liquidation. It's up to us to decide and make that choice. We have to make that choice deliberately. So let's get to the topic. To really highlight this topic and set the stage, we need to understand certain things. This is so common. We always read these things like new record, Bitcoin ETF inflows hits new all-time high. And as you see here, going from the bottom left to the top right, you quickly realize that the total ETF inflows have been just hitting one all-time high after the other. Ironically, this doesn't have an effect or direct effect on the common retailer that is actually trading on centralized exchanges. Keep in mind, all these trades are taking place off-chain. ETFs are not being traded on the blockchain. ETFs are being traded off-chain using traditional infrastructure. And also, all this volume that is taking place is just benefiting BlackRock primarily, that IBIT. They have the largest Bitcoin ETF in the world right now. And they're the ones benefiting, because how are they generating revenue? By accumulating all this volume, all this liquidity that they're pooling together. And through the volume, this is how they are generating revenue, through management fees, transaction fees, ETF, the product fees. So they're always charging these various fees, and it's all based on the volume of transactions. So they're making hundreds of millions of dollars just in revenue, just by trading these ETFs on a daily basis. But this is off-chain, and it doesn't add any value to the industry, to the crypto industry directly. As a matter of fact, it is removing, and it's literally highlighting the challenge that we are facing in the crypto industry, and that's liquidity, or rather lack thereof, right? So ETFs are the best example to highlight the challenge, one of the challenges that we are facing in our industry, and that's liquidity. We are lacking it. And ETFs are actually sucking up all the liquidity away from the chain, right? And leaving the industry illiquid and making ETFs on the existing infrastructures liquid. However, one thing I have to highlight is that thanks to BlackRock wanting to use Ethereum to tokenize all these ETFs and to tokenize the bond market, US Treasuries, and all these stable coins that are being launched, all of these are happening on Ethereum blockchain. So on the flip side, all of these assets are about to be tokenized and then used as credit to lend out, right, to lenders, because that's how economy works. Economy works through, like we said, credit, money, liquidity, paired with traders. So the traders need credit, money, liquidity to trade. That's how economy works. And the best way to use the blockchain technology is by these asset managers accumulating all these assets. And like we saw here, all they have to accumulate is Bitcoin and Ethereum, because combined, these two assets account for over 70% of the entire crypto industry. So all you need is Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you literally run or dominate the industry. And this is exactly what's happening here, is that they're accumulating so many of it. But now there's a challenge here again. Challenges always open doors for opportunities. Let's look at the other challenge. Because everything is happening off-chain, like we just saw here, all of this is good and well. But do we really believe this? Are they really purchasing this much Bitcoin? Are there really so much Bitcoin for them to purchase? And this is exactly what everybody's starting to question here. And this is what Coinbase has been under fire for. So is Coinbase literally selling paper Bitcoin? Will this be the next bubble? Will this be the next big scandal? This has been a question within the industry, right? As we see here, we can read that critics argue lack of visible Bitcoin reserves because it's off-chain, it's not visible. It's not like you can go and verify it and check. It's not transparent. There are no reserves that you can just go on Etherscan and verify. And this has caused critics to argue the lack thereof, right? So this, of course, could lead to over-issuance risks, like they issue too much. Same thing they did with in the commodities market with gold, right, and silver. They have the opportunity to do the same thing right now because they're controlling the liquidity of the two largest assets, like we see here. So it's easy for them to do that. Another thing I want to highlight here is also like the ongoing scrutiny and competitive market dynamics underscore the challenges Coinbase is facing against rivals like Bitco's WBTC. So one more thing that I want to highlight here before we end this, and this is really important to understand. Again, Coinbase faced scrutiny over allegations concerning the transparency of its reserves, right? Why are in the traditional market, reserves are always a big topic? The beautiful thing about this is that with DeFi on the blockchain technology, it's so easy to look at check reserves. You just come, you can just use this basic platform, right? DEX tools, and you can just come here to Liquidity and you can verify the reserves. You can see, okay, this is how much is there. Easy. But it's easy because it's on-chain, it's on the blockchain. But like, again, we said, Coinbase is off-chain. All these trades they're doing are all over the counter. All of this is, we just have to believe what they tell us, but we can't verify. Nobody can verify it. And they're not sharing their wallets with us either so that we can verify. So how are we supposed to verify all of this? We just have to take their word for it, right? We just have to believe. And so especially after launching, like we said, the Coinbase BTC, that was the issue. So that this derivative is primarily used as collateral. This is the key word here, right? WBTC are used as collateral. This is why it's so important that, and they're used as collateral in the decentralized financial space. And why is that so important? Because amid these discussions, some crypto community members accused Coinbase of selling paper Bitcoin to BlackRock without ensuring one-to-one backing, right? So, and these accusations are legitimate because it's just based on trust me, right? We can't verify it because it's off-chain. So every day we hear all-time high this, all-time high that, but none of us can verify it. Is it really the case? Are they really purchasing that many? Do they have a one-to-one backing? That remains for us to find out. Now, keep in mind, this WBTC, these are used as collateral in the decentralized finance space. Now, this is now getting to where we need to get to in today's topic. Keep in mind, it's a choice. We can choose liquidity or we can choose to be liquidated. All right. And this is the individual that also wrote this. Like, BlackRock can take as much Bitcoin as they want from Coinbase, and the transactions is recorded off-chain, right? So I'd like to see all the ETF wallets. That would be interesting. We don't just want to see these beautiful charts, colorful charts telling us all-time high. Show us the wallets. We want to see those wallets on-chain to verify, is this really the case? It should be easy, you would think, for them to show us, but none of them is willing to do so. Why is it so important for us to understand that these derivatives are used primarily as collateral? So they're using their Bitcoin and their Ethereum as collateral because they're Ethereum ETFs and Bitcoin ETFs. So if you're using this ETFs underlying asset as collateral, they owe us to understand or believe that they really have those assets purchased as they say they do. Because if not, we in DeFi, we're going to be faced with a lot of trouble. And we're about to look at it. We're about to see how much trouble we're about to get ourselves into. So this brings us now to this article here. Now we're cooking something. We are being told, trust me, bro, just believe it, that we have these assets. We really have a one-to-one backing of Bitcoin in this case, or Ethereum in Ethereum's case. And also users are doubting it. And with so much Bitcoin being purchased over the counter, where does Coinbase get all those Bitcoin? Because there's not enough being minted on a daily basis to accommodate all these big sales on a daily basis. So these questions are legitimate. Now, this is now a whole different panic that is going on here. And the headline says it, panic in the crypto market. 287 million liquidated in just 24 hours. Beware of leverage. This headline alone has 3 items that we really need to break down to really understand further. The first one is panic in the crypto market. Whenever we hear panic in the crypto market, this industry is based on sentiment. It's based on fear and greed. What does panic mean? Panic means fear. What happens if individuals are fearful? There's a sell-off happening. So whenever you hear panic, that means sell-off. Now, let's understand this headline very well. And then the other one is 287 million liquidated. What does liquidated means? And 287 million in just 24 hours, that's a lot of money within 24 hours. What does this really mean? And then the other one is beware of leverage. What is leverage? So before we continue down with this article, we need to understand 3 things. First of all, panic. What does panic mean? Sell-offs. What does 287 million liquidated? What does liquidation mean? And then what does leverage mean? So let's identify liquidated. What does liquidation mean? So liquidation, what is liquidation? Let's understand what liquidation actually means. So liquidation in finance and economics is the process of bringing a business to an end and distributing its asset to claimants, right? But it is an event that usually occurs when a company is insolvent, bankrupt, right? Meaning it cannot pay its obligations when they are due. Now, this is all sweet, but let's break this down now to crypto level. What does this mean in terms of crypto? This means that people are literally borrowing, like we said here. You see how we were talking about here. These derivatives mean the asset itself, like Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin or Ethereum. They are primarily used as collateral, right? In where? In the decentralized finance. And this is exactly what's happening here. So because people are using Ethereum and Bitcoin as collateral, when you see when there's liquidations in the markets, when that happens, that means that people are losing their assets, their collateral. What happens if people lose their collateral? That means their collateral, the assets are being sold. Which are those two assets that they use as collateral? Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are 70% of the entire market. So why do we wonder if one day we see Bitcoin hitting all-time high and then not even within an hour it drops down back to below 60,000? We're about to understand why. So now that we understand what liquidation means, let's now understand what is leverage. What does leverage mean? Leverage in trading enables you to open a position worth much more than the money you deposit. For example, you might be able to multiply your position size by 5, 10, 20, or even 33, the amount of your initial outlay. Don't worry, let me break this down even further. Let's look at it in crypto terms. So let's make a real-world example. Real-world example is that leverage is, for example, you only have 100,000 to invest. And now, using leverage, you can 5x that amount. You can take loan. Remember how economy works? You need money, liquidity, credit, and greed. Those are the best combination for a bubble. And leverages are the best recipe for leverage. So you're using money that you don't have. You only have 100,000, for example, but now you're leveraging it 5x, for example, or 10x. Now, instead of that 100,000 that you have, you 5x it, you leverage it. Now your 100,000 is now 500,000. Then you invest that 500,000, and now you can bet in the market that the price of Bitcoin or Ethereum is going up or down, and you're using leverage. And this is what this article is telling us, that those who are using leverage have been liquidated. So those who are 5x, 10xing the money they didn't have, they just borrowed it. They took credit because there's liquidity in abundance. They're now in trouble because they borrowed against their own assets, right? Which is Bitcoin or Ethereum in DeFi. Now they're being liquidated. Now let's read further here. So the world of crypto, known for its volatility, we already know how volatile crypto industry is, has once again proven its unpredictable nature. In just 24 hours, over $287 million were liquidated on a major exchange platform, a figure that resonates as a warning for leveraged traders exposed to sudden and brutal market movements. We all know how these markets can move just based on sentiments. Elon Musk can say something, tweet something, the market reacts. Right now, we're waiting on elections next month. Within 3 weeks, the market will react. Anything that happens, the Middle East situation right now, the market can react any moment, right? It reacts suddenly. So this new wave of liquidations spare neither. Who are the biggest players? Bitcoin nor Ethereum. It's always these two because they are together they represent over 70%, and they are the two that have the ETFs. And who owns the ETFs? It's BlackRock primarily. So and JP Morgan. So those two dictate liquidity, and if you control liquidity, you control the asset, right? And people are starting to wake up and see the reality that they're doing the same thing they did with the commodities, and this affects our collateral in DeFi, and this in turn causes liquidations. And we're going to understand this further. It affects Bitcoin and Ethereum, two pillars of the crypto market, which have seen their valuations severely impacted, right? So now that we understand what's going on, and we understand what liquidation means and what leverage means, let's look at DeFi. Now we understand that Ethereum and Bitcoin are used as collateral in DeFi. What is the giant DeFi application? It is Aave. Aave is the lending platform, borrowing and lending, right? And you see here, liquidations, right? So let's read about DeFi. What's going on here? So if we talk about giants in DeFi, Aave is one of them. Actually is the only one right now in terms of lending and borrowing. How does economy work? You have to provide liquidity, money, to the traders, and they in turn are putting their assets at risk to borrow against it. They leverage against it, right? And they risk being liquidated, losing all of their assets. Don't take my word for it. Let's look at this article. So DeFi giant Aave. What is Aave? For those who are still not familiar with Aave, let's look at this. If you look at the entire industry, the second largest application and the most used application, the second, and it's a lending platform, is Aave, as you see here. They are home to on 13 different blockchains, and together they hold roughly 13 billion assets under management. So it's the largest lending platform by far. And so we are talking about a large lending platform here. And they actually earned $6 million in revenue as crypto market plunges, right? So while retailers, you and I, are losing our assets, they made 6 million. So what did we read here? Market is bleeding. Market lost 287 in liquidation, but the largest lending platform, they made 6 million. So what does that tell you? Our pain is their gain. Our loss is their revenue. So we need to understand this. Keep in mind, today's topic is you can choose liquidity or choose to be liquidated. So it's a choice that we have to make. So Aave shows defiance during the sell-off by profiting off. Who are they profiting off? Users' liquidations. And community, we need to understand this. And this is exactly, we will zoom in to our ecosystem as we wrap up today's session. But as of now, we're still zoomed out. So understand how economy works. You need to provide liquidity, credit, money, name it however you want to call it. You have to provide that to the traders. Traders are retailers, and retailers are putting their assets at risk, which is primarily Bitcoin or Ethereum. They borrow money on DeFi platforms such as Aave against their assets. The assets are extremely volatile, like we saw here, and they risk the assets to be liquidated because they're over leveraged. And as they're being liquidated, Aave is raking up 6 million in revenue, right? And while the sell-off is happening, they're profiting off of you and I, the retailer, and we are liquidated. So let's look at this even closer. So 350 million worth of DeFi positions were liquidated during the market sell-off. So this is just during 24 to 48 hours. This is a lot of money. And Aave secured 6 million in revenue from processing on-chain liquidations. So our pain, like we said, is their gain. So your loss is their win. This is an example of one person. So one individual put their Ethereum as collateral, right? They posted their Ethereum as collateral because what did we see here? Derivatives is primarily used as what? Collateral, right? In what? In DeFi. So that's exactly what they did. Where? On Aave. So here's an individual. It could have been you, it could have been me. Placed their Ethereum on Aave, 7.4 million worth, and then they borrowed against it and were liquidated. And meanwhile, they provided Aave with 800,000 in revenue. So they lost 7.4 million worth of their asset, Ethereum, and Aave made tons of money while they're losing their asset. And why are they doing this? Because that's how the market works. You don't want to sell, you're not earning, you're not getting any cash flow from Ethereum, and you want to better your position. So you're willing to put your assets at risk to be liquidated just to earn some extra fees or extra yield, right? And this is exactly where Micro Saylor also wants to do with his 250,000 Bitcoin. He wants to put it to work and earn yield on his Bitcoin, risking being liquidated, right? And this is exactly the situation that we find ourselves in now. This is the dilemma that we find ourselves in. In order for individuals that are hungry to earn yield, they have to go through loops. They have to put their assets at risk just to earn a cash flow, just to have extra revenue, or not revenue, but just a cash flow, right? And this is what people are aiming for, and they put themselves in trouble through this. But let's understand this even further. What's really happening here? Let's understand this. This is what happened. So the founder of decentralized finance protocol Aave said the platform generated 6 million of revenue during the Monday's crypto market sell-off, right? So the plunge trickled down to DeFi after last week's Bank of Japan decision to hike interest rates, like we saw, right? So whenever the market, something like that happens, it affects the market drastically. So let's look at this even further. Let's understand this. So, like we say, this wave of mass liquidations is a stark reminder of the extreme volatility of the crypto market and the dangers of leveraged trading. Highly leveraged positions, especially on major platforms, are genuine time bombs. These are time bombs because the case of a sharp price fluctuation, like we know, prices move up and down really, really fast, really fast, and it's hard to keep up with it. And this is why, if we don't pay attention, we can really fall victims to this. And this is something that we really need to understand, community. So if a sudden Bitcoin price spike pushes crypto liquidations, right? So whenever, and this goes both ways, whether it's a spike, price goes up, like in this case, Bitcoin's sudden price jumped to nearly 68,000 on Tuesday, right? And this ruined loads of short positions. But now long positions are crumbling as the price dips. So let's understand these two things. What does it mean, short positions? There are short positions and there are long positions. Remember how we said that individuals, traders, are using their assets? Like we said here, what are their assets? Their assets are Bitcoin or Ethereum, right? These two assets. They're using that as collateral, like we see here, primarily used as collateral. These collateral that they're using are very volatile, And now we're about to see how volatile it really is. So short position means you're betting that the price of Bitcoin is going to go down. That's what it means. Long positions mean you're betting that the price is going to go up. So let's understand this dilemma here. As Bitcoin's price continues to shoot upwards, traders betting on the asset to go down are feeling the pain. But so are those betting on the price to go up. So how is that possible? We need to understand this. So not only are the ones that are, okay, the Bitcoin's price is going up, right? 68,000. So those who bet that the asset was going down, they're feeling the pain, obviously. They're losing because they thought that the price would go down, but it's going up. But now, those who bet that the price was going up, they're also losing. So it's a lose-lose situation. Why is that the case? We need to understand this. And this is beautiful to understand. Let's see what's happening here. So Bitcoin's sudden rise has hurt futures traders. So these are futures traders, remember? Futures trading means you trade, same in options trading, right? You can bet how the price will be in the future. What will be Bitcoin price be, for example, or Ethereum price in the future? So you're betting in the future, but you don't have to buy those assets now physically. You don't have to have those assets on you. And this is exactly why critics were arguing that Coinbase doesn't even have these one-to-one backing. They're selling paper Bitcoin to BlackRock without having a one-to-one backing. Because how else are these individuals trading on futures in billions of dollars, and we don't know if they really have these assets. Anyway, what we need to understand here is that the futures traders who are shorting the coin, meaning they were betting that the price is going down, or betting on its price to go down, exactly like it says here, over the past 24 hours, 130 million on short positions have been liquidated, right? So those who are betting that the price is going down because Bitcoin went up were liquidated. But now the irony is that, but with the quick plunge to follow the rise, now the long positions, liquidations, have actually overtaken the short ones, right? And the ones that were betting that the price is going up, they are now lost even more than those bet that the price is going down. Now, let's understand this. It sounds so confusing, Steve. Let's make these things simple. What's happening here is that the futures traders were betting that the price would go down, right? But the price actually went up. Now, let's explain this. Price went up to 68,000. So those who bet that the price is going down, what's happening to them? They took on leverage, right? They took on leverage. They put their Bitcoin and Ethereum at risk and bet that the price is going to go down. But because the price went up, the collateral they used to put down, remember they're using this as collateral, their ETH and their Bitcoin that they put as collateral, betting that the market is going down, they lost all that collateral. They lost it, like this individual right here. He was betting that the market was going down, but it went up. So they lost 7.4 million and they were liquidated. So while they lost all of their ETH, Aave made 800,000. And why did this happen is because, and this is interesting to understand, while those who bet against the market that is going down, of course, they lost fast because now they had to sell the collateral, and the collateral is ETH or Bitcoin. So when the price is going up, but all of a sudden now they have to sell their collateral, which is ETH or Bitcoin, what does that do if you sell 130 million worth of Bitcoin or ETH? Of course, it causes the price to go down. And because the price now is going down, because these individuals were liquidated, those who bet that the price is going up, they are losing now too, because the Bitcoin price stops going up because the short traders are being liquidated, right? Like we see here. Panic now sets in the market. And what happens when panic sets in? People start selling. What happens if people start selling? People get liquidated. What happens if people get liquidated? Those that had leverage are losing their assets. Just like this individual lost their 7.4 million. They lost their ETH is gone because they wanted to earn some extra, and they're in a volatile market. There's so much volatility. Why there's so much volatility? Because there's not much liquidity in the industry, in the traditional markets. So what's the bottom line here, community? Is that whether you bet against the market or for the market, meaning whether you're a short seller or short trader or a long trader, it's a lose-lose situation. If you bet that the price of Bitcoin is going down and it goes up, your assets get liquidated. You lose your liquidity. You lose your asset. You get liquidated. This means your ETH is being sold. And when you sell ETH, the price of ETH goes down. And this affects those who are actually saying that the price will go up. So it starts with those who bet that the price will go down. They're losing fast. Now the ETH is being sold, right? And when the ETH gets sold or the Bitcoin gets sold, it pushes the price down. And that also brings down those who actually were betting that the price will go up. And this is exactly what we're seeing here. This is why for a short period, Bitcoin hit 68,000. Ethereum almost hit 2,700. But because the short sellers were liquidated, it pushed the price down. And those long traders also lost their assets as well, and this pushed the market down. And then the panic hit. And what happens if people are panicking? There's a panic selling happening, and this causes the market to look the way it is right now. So basically, we're down 1.7% due to just fear and greed index, right? Sentiments, emotions, and people using leverage. People who used leverage. So this is now brings us to the final stage of this session today. Remember, the topic of today is, do you want liquidity or do you want to be liquidated? Because the current monetary system is based on debt, inflation, and loss of purchasing power. Because the current system, the way the economy works, is based on credit and debt, right? People have to take on debts, credit, loans, and leverage to try to, and the way they get their leverage is by putting their assets at risk, like this fine individual. They put the ETH at risk, and then when there is a volatility happening and the market starts, going down, and those who had long and short positions, so it didn't even matter whether you are right. Oh yes, the price of Bitcoin is going up. Even though you are right, but because of the short positions, you're going to lose money even more than those who say the market would go down. So you're in a lose-lose situation if it comes to putting your asset at risk. So you're risking your asset, you're losing your asset. After losing your asset, it gets even worse. Even though you are right, you guessed right, but you still get liquidated and you lose all of your asset. Now you don't have asset anymore because you took leverage on it. And let's understand what this individual did. They went to Aave and put $7.4 million worth of ETH. And then they took USDT or USDC stablecoin, the borrowed stablecoin, against it, 90%. So let's say they took 6 million worth of stablecoins, or even 7 million worth of stablecoin. And when the price of ETH dropped, the value of the collateral dropped, meaning the asset was liquidated. So they sold this asset to recover the borrowed money that they took. And this is how quickly people get liquidated and they lose the entire assets that they didn't want to lose in the first place. So now that we understand all of this, and this is the second largest application in the industry, it's the largest lending platform by far. And all they do is they take your asset that they tell you can borrow against it, and they make millions of dollars, like we saw here. You losing, Aave making, your loss is their revenue. And why would you set up your community? Why would you create a platform that is setting up your community for loss? If you know better, you do better. It's a free will. You can't fault Aave for that. It's not their fault. People have to use their common sense and realize that ETH and Bitcoin, they're very volatile. And if you want to use ETH or Bitcoin as collateral, it's not a good idea. It only works during a full-blown bull market. During a bull market, you can do this, but not during a volatile session that we have right now. It's not smart to do this. So it's not Aave's fault. They just have the platform in place. So you have to make your own decision, like today's topic. Do you want liquidity or do you want to be liquidated? And this individual obviously made a choice, and they have to live with it. They chose to be liquidated, right? And this now brings us to zooming in now. Let's look at our ecosystem and understand one thing. You can't fault the user either, because they don't have the cash flow. They don't have liquidity. This is why they borrow against it to get liquidity, because they don't want to sell their ETH. So you would ask yourself, why would somebody with 7 million borrow stable coins worth 7 million? Why don't they just use their ETH? That's the whole purpose of Aave. They don't want to sell their asset. They just want to borrow USDC stable coins, make some trades, hopefully make some money, pay back their loan, get back their asset, and then take the profits on top. But this is risky, right? So now let's zoom in now. Let's get to our ecosystem. First of all, our ecosystem is based on liquidity. Like it says here, liquidity is a scarce commodity to come by these days, right? It's the bloodline of every ecosystem to be sustainable and for traders to enter and exit their positions. We're saying it right here on the website, right? We always talk about this all the time. Traders want a liquid asset that they can enter and exit. But look at what happens to traders on Aave. They're being liquidated big time. So this is the challenge that we always talk about. And this just proves that lack of liquidity is a real challenge. It's a problem in our industry. And a lot of people are being liquidated every single day. And they're losing millions of dollars of their asset because they don't have, or still they're not aware that there is another option. This is why we don't focus on debts, right? We don't focus on debt. We focus on liquidity. We don't focus on giving out credit and loans and all that and putting your assets at risk. It's the complete opposite. We focus on accumulating, retaining liquidity so that the community is not put at risk. Why develop a platform that can put communities at risk while you are earning revenue? You are profiting from your community's ignorance, right? You can't blame Aave, like I said, that this is everybody's choice. However, it's also our responsibility as developers to develop a platform that is actually working in the community's best interest. But in this case, we realize that the ignorance of the community is actually making millions for the platform. So it's up to us to debate whether that's morally acceptable or not. However, in our case, we work for the best interest of the community. How are we doing that? Because we focus on retaining liquidity for the community. And we also focus on giving the opportunity that while you're holding or while you're staking your asset, you don't have to borrow against it and risk being liquidated. Even if you're right and you bet the market that the price is going to go up. Because people are shorting it, you are going to lose as well. It's a lose-lose situation. You can't win. So this is why we created an opportunity using the blockchain technology, telling people, hey, since it's a lose-lose situation, even if you bet the right bet, you're still going to lose, because the short sellers are going to be, the short traders are going to be liquidated one way or the other. And they are going to cause you to lose as well, because the volatility of the assets are going to go down. And this is why we always stress on retaining liquidity, community, not just through taxes, buy and sell, but also, like we said, through the 10% we put aside, by buybacks and restaking and receiving USDC distributions, and keep repeating that. And then the third way is through, like we say, these ETF boosters. The revenue generated from these boosters are also used to do buybacks as well, for the tokens. And then, of course, also through the individual community members that decide to use the USDC distributions once these are activated, to do the same thing that the smart contract is doing, to just keep doing buybacks and restaking, right? So community, what are we saying here? You have an asset that is not liquid, and this illiquid asset also doesn't give you any distributions for bringing stability into your ecosystem. Stakers putting their tokens at stake, meaning they're bringing stability into the ecosystem and security as well, and they're participating in locking their tokens away, right? Like we see here. If you look at here, you see that 74.8% of our total supply is staked. We are the third most staked cryptocurrency in the entire industry. And this needs to sink in. There's not many cryptocurrencies that believe so much in the ecosystem that they almost staked 3/4 of the entire supply. 75% of the supply is staked. And while this is being staked, it's locked away from circulation. Meanwhile, the total supply, we started at 1 million in total supply. It's now down to 966. So you have not only a liquid asset, an asset that is liquid, that is retaining liquidity, but you also have an asset that, on top of it being liquid, it's the third most staked token in the entire industry. And also its supply keeps shrinking. It started at 1 million and now it's 966. While 75% almost of its supply is being staked, and it's retaining liquidity as well. But that's not all. There is more. As you are staking your liquid, scarce asset, that is the third most staked asset, you're also receiving USDC distributions. So in this way, you don't have to put your asset at risk. Look at what Bitcoiners and Ethereum holders have to go through. They have to risk their assets and they'll get liquidated, even if they bet right. Even if they were right. Nonetheless, even if they bet that it's going to go up, the long positions, still they get liquidated. So you're risking your assets, like this individual. Now they lost 7.4 million because they put their ETH at risk, because they just wanted to earn some extra, or rather they wanted to speculate on Aave, right? And they have to go through all these hoops. And here you are, you can, because you're just securing the network by staking your token. And how is staking working? Is based on trading volume. So we are using the volume efficiently. And how is the volume triggered? By liquidity. Remember how we started this session. We started the session by identifying how does economy work? You need liquidity. Liquidity stimulates transactions. Transactions and liquidity cause for a healthy economy. So ask yourself, why don't you use the blockchain technology to its fullest by developing a platform using 3 different smart contracts, like you see here. We have the token smart contract, and then we have the staking and both staking platforms, right? The NFT staking and the BRL staking. So these are 3 different smart contracts, and these are audited smart contracts. So we are using 3 different smart contracts to address the 4 challenges that we experience in the industry, which is lack of liquidity. And because of that, this is the solution for Bitcoin, is ETFs. So JP Morgan came through and with support of BlackRock. BlackRock is the sales force, and JP Morgan, they are holding the underlying asset, which is Bitcoin and Ethereum, while they're selling paper paper Bitcoin to us, right? And in the form of ETFs, right? So it's paper Bitcoin or paper Ethereum. That's ETF. But do they really have the underlying asset? Do they really? We don't know, and we'll never know, because it's off the chain. ETFs are off chain. They're over-the-counter transactions, so we'll never know, right? But with blockchain, if you use its technology the right way, we don't have to worry about all these debates. We don't have to worry about proof of reserves and all of this. You can just come here and verify for yourself. You can come to Etherscan and see how much burning is happening. You can see how much is being staked right now. You can see the how much is in the liquidity pool right now. All of this, you can verify everything. That's the beauty of the blockchain. And if you can use these blockchain technology to address the lack of liquidity aspect of it, you have it. Address inflation aspect of it by burning, and then address the incentive rewards, staking rewards, address that as well by having an efficient and sustainable ecosystem. Remember what we were reading here earlier, right? Let's see here. What were we reading out of it? It was here. Remember what we were reading here is how inefficient it is and how it affects Bitcoin and Ethereum, because these are the ones being used as collateral for DeFi. So instead of using your assets as collateral and risking being liquidated, which is the topic of today, so you can choose, do you want to risk your assets by using them as collateral to be liquidated? Whether you guessed right or wrong, it doesn't even matter. Or do you want to use an asset that is already retaining liquidity, that is extremely liquid, that is extremely scarce, and that 70% of its supply is being locked away through staking, and it only has a circulating supply of roughly 100,000. And we are just entering the bull market right now. And the market cap is still relatively low. And it already has a healthy liquidity that you can verify. No reason to argue or debate. You can verify everything on chain. So, and it has a vibrant community. It's active 4 times a week, daily on Zoom. And it has a very informed and educated community. We are ready to take over. And to really, we are prepared to embrace all this liquidity. Remember how we were looking at this community. Remember the bottom line here. What did we read here? Unsustainable frenzy, right? Unsustainable frenzy. Does this sound familiar? If you, what do we always talk about? Unsustainable staking distributions, inefficient use of trading volume, lack of liquidity, inflation. All of that causes unsustainability. But nonetheless, people are just jumping onto this unsustainable frenzy, jumping from one meme coin to the next. And even though they know that it's unsustainable, but it's a frenzy and people are just hyped about it, right? And this happened during the bubbles. This is exactly what happens with the bubbles. This happened due to the housing bubble. It happened .com bubble. It happened to the Japan's real estate and stock market. We will never learn. That's human nature. You know, humans just don't want to learn, you know, and really see that these things have happened before. Fast forward today, we are back to this stage where liquidity is about to be flooded into the industry, and we're about to start building another bubble. And if this bubble, you're jumping on unsustainable projects, unsustainable ecosystem, who are you to blame? Or if you use your asset and you get liquidated, like, what are we supposed to do? And you're using a platform that is actually gaining from your ignorance, right? So this is why when we say this is a platform that is developed in the best interest of the community, it's not just to sound good, but it's literally it's a fact, right? It's a fact. It protects the community by ignoring and removing debts aspect altogether. So instead of accumulating and compounding debt, because even if they had not been liquidated, let's say they survived liquidation, they were not liquidated, and they still would have to pay interest on the 7 million USDC they purchased, one way or the other. So they would have been having to pay interest on it. But before they were even started paying interest on it, they were liquidated. Before, they couldn't even survive for 24 hours. They were liquidated. And Aave is the one that benefited from it. So instead of putting the community at risk, we are actually putting these smart contracts to use to put the community at rest. Because now, instead of they being the exit liquidity or the revenue, like we see here, they're being the revenue for Aave, we are the ones using our smart contracts to retain liquidity for you. So that instead of you being the revenue or the exit liquidity, the smart contracts are retaining it for the community. And if you retain liquidity, what happens? Volume. You attract volume, trading volume, right? What happens if you have trading volume? You become scarcer, like we see here. You become scarcer. What happens if you become scarcer? You attract even more people, and they come and stake even more. So already we are at almost 75% staked. This will attract even more stakers, and liquidity will attract even more traders. More trading means more scarcity. More scarcity means more liquidity. More liquidity means more volume. More volume means more USDC distributions, right? So, and more USDC distributions means more compounding by the community, and they are doing the same thing that this is doing right here. Buybacks and restaking, earning more USDC, and keep rinsing and repeating. So now we have ourselves a sufficient, a sustainable, efficient ecosystem that puts the community's best interests at heart by retaining liquidity for them, by being scarce and addressing the inflation challenge, by addressing the unsustainable staking distributions challenge, and by retaining liquidity and addressing the lack of liquidity challenge. So if we read headlines such as these, we can't verify this. This all sounds great, but it's off-chain. Show us the receipts. Show us the wallets. Otherwise, it's just hot air. We can't, where is the proof, right? But our ecosystem, you can go and check for yourself. Check what's the liquidity, boom. How much has been burned, boom. What's the staking percentage, boom. How much is left in the liquidity pool? Here it is. What is the staking amount? How much staking distributions we have going? Boom, you can check and verify everything. That's the beauty of the blockchain technology community. And instead of jeopardizing your assets and losing them, this is sad. I don't wish this to anyone. Nobody deserves to lose their assets. Meanwhile, the platform is getting rich off of your ignorance, right? Nobody deserves this. You want to be part of an ecosystem that is working for you, not against you, that is working with you and not benefiting from you, right? Taking advantage of your ignorance. But rather, you want an ecosystem that one of its 4 pillars, education. This is why we educate, right? This individual just didn't know any better. I'm sure if he knew better, they would do better, but they didn't know any better. Why would you leverage such a high amount and lose, risk being liquidated? But all they wanted is to just have a sustainable form of staking distributions, right? That's all they wanted. They didn't want to sell their asset, right? And boom, their greed got the best of them. And this is why when you create a platform, you need to create a platform that puts the community's best interests at heart, that makes sure that the smart contracts are audited, and that you address the 4 challenges in the industry, which is lack of liquidity, boom, we're retaining it. Inflation, boom, we are banning it. Like you see here, we are becoming scarcer and scarcer, right? And have a sustainable staking distributions, boom, you see almost 75% is staked. And once the volume kicks, once liquidity starts, going up and attracts more volume, now we create that positive feedback loop, and we address all 4 challenges in the industry. And now we have a platform that we can focus fully on just growing as a community, because our aim is to grow this decentralized community platform. And secondly, we keep informing, educating, inspiring the community so that they can avoid such major pitfalls like we see here, right? And other platforms are taking advantage of communities, their own communities' ignorance. Instead of educating them and telling them, hey, guys, you need to pay attention to this. Don't risk it, especially not during a bear market. During a bull market, this is a genius move because everything goes up, but not during such times when the markets are so volatile. Because like we saw, it's a lose-lose. The short positions lost, the long positions lost. Either way, you're losing. So why risk your asset in the first place? You'll lose regardless. So this is why we developed a platform community that retains liquidity, is scarce, has sustainable staking distributions, is using its volume efficiently, and it's sustainable. And this is what sets us apart, community, and this is what we are addressing in the industry. And we don't have to put your assets at risk and leave it in the hands of a platform, but rather you can stake and unstake anytime. You control your asset. It's under your control all the time, right? And this is very important. We don't charge any staking and unstaking fees. We don't lock up your tokens. There's no locking periods either, none of that. So this is what you call true decentralization. The power is in the hands of the retailers, the community, and you don't set them up. You don't want to set up the community so that because they're ignorant, you take advantage of them like we see here, but rather we are educating our community so they're not ignorant, right? So that they don't, they're not liquidated. This is why we teach on various different topics: monetary system, inflation, liquidations, and all of these aspects. We want you to be informed and educated and make rational decisions, right? You have a free will. Make your choice. Do you want liquidity or do you want to be liquidated? That's the topic of today, community. Now, make your choice. Do you want to be liquidated? Like this poor individual their ignorance was highly benefited from Aave, or do you want to pick liquidity, a platform that is literally working on retaining it, working on being scarce, working on a sustainable staking distributions, and using its volume efficiently? Those are the 4 challenges in the industry that we need to tackle. And above and beyond that, most importantly, is to educate the community. That's more important than even these fundamentals, because what's the point of having such a solid ecosystem and the community is ignorant about it? This is why we place so much value on these weekly sessions, to ensure that we empower you by informing and educating you, but still challenging you to do your own research. Don't take our word for it. Use these sessions as a point of reference. Go do further research, right? And just ensure that our aim is that we have an informed and educated community that makes rational decisions, right? And that doesn't fall victim out of ignorance to platforms such as these, right? And lose their assets because of liquidations. And that's the message for today, community. So let's wrap this up and come to your comments. Let's see what you have lined up for us today as far as comments. And then we can wrap up today's session. Meanwhile, those that are just joining right now, if you have not tweeted yet, today's tweets are out already, community. Let's ensure that we engage with the tweets, that we put the word out. Okay. Let me come to your comments. Queen Grace says, greetings to our dev Steve and Queen Mother and the BRL family. It's another beautiful Thursday. We come together to get more knowledge in the crypto space, more of God's perfect grace to you, Steve. Thank you so much, Queen Grace. We are very, very excited, just as you are, to always gather during these community events. It really gives us the opportunity to really level up, you know, by being informed and educated, so that we can all make rational decisions and not be moved by sentiments or emotions. Thank you so much for your well wishes. May you also be well, Queen Grace. WPR, my brother WPR says, greetings, King Steve. It is so fortunate for me to be able to join this session. Success is all we know. Financial freedom is at sight. It's always a pleasure to see that you stay up this late to just be part of these sessions. WPR, you are very, very much appreciated. Thank you for your leadership, your engagement, your positive energy. Very much appreciated, and glad that you're able to make it today. Queen Lati says, greetings, Bullrun family. Another interesting day with our developers, Steve and Queen Wino. With the Bullrun ecosystem, the language is liquidity and not liquidation. Beautifully said, Queen Lati. Absolutely. That's the language that we speak. It's always the same. It's liquidity and not liquidation. So our developers are the brains behind. And now, not just us, Queen Lati, the entire community is the brain behind it, because we are all on the same page, right? This is why we do this week in, week out on a daily basis, so that we are all the brains, right? We're all on the same page. But rightly said, the language is liquidity, not liquidation. Beautifully said. The creation of the Liquidity King, absolutely. Queen Val says, hello, Mr. Steve. Hello, Queen Mother, and happy Thursday to us, all Bull Runners. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome and feel at home. You can join our beautifully said, Queen Val. Those that are new in the community and are not part of our Bull Run Telegram group, you can feel free to join. We also have Killer Whale here as well. And I'm sure Survivor is also somewhere in the chat if you can find it. Thank you, Queen Val, for posting these links. My great brother Theo says, greetings to my great brother Professor Steve, great Queen Mama Wino, and my Bullrun family. I pray you are all well. It is such a blessing to be here, being informed, educated, and inspired with you all. Well said, Brother Theo. I hope you are well. Always a pleasure seeing you in the community as well, my brother. Brother WPR says, hi, Steve. I've seen staking platform project like Yan Finance with its token reaching price that was more expensive than Bitcoin. True, very true, yes. But now it is going down heavily. BRL will make a difference. Well said. A lot of people really always thought that Bitcoin is the most expensive. But Yan Finance, yes, was actually even more expensive. At its peak, it was over 70,000 as well. That was during the last bull run. And yes, it was more expensive than Bitcoin. But due to, again, fundamentals and these four challenges we face in the industry, which is inflation, lack of liquidity, unsustainable incentives, right, through staking distributions and inefficient use of volume, all of these aspects hinder projects from really growing. Like we remember the last time, our last community event, we discussed this, how if you don't address these four challenges, you can't grow any further, you're literally, you have a ceiling. You can hit. We went through the 4 life cycles of business. Remember, we went through the early stages, and then the growth stage, and then the maturity, and then the consolidation. So if you're not addressing these 4 major challenges, you will hit the ceiling, just like my brother WPR just said. And unfortunately, that's a lot of our ecosystems, a lot of cryptocurrencies are victims to this. Queen Patricia says, good evening, family. And Mr. Steve, thank you again for your dedication and commitment. Stay protected and blessed always. Thank you so much, Queen Patricia. You're very, very much appreciated. We appreciate your presence and your commitment, your consistency as well. Thank you for your well wishes. May you also stay protected and blessed as well. Rathio says, well said, Queen Grace. Queen Grace says, so excited to be in another learning session with our own dev, Mr. Steve. We appreciate you so much together with your mom. Take it up and enlighten us again tonight. Thank you so much, Queen Grace. It's always a pleasure seeing you all on these various different platforms, social platforms, and your consistency, your leadership, your commitment is very much appreciated, Queen Grace. Always a pleasure seeing you, and thank you for taking your time for being part of this session today. My brother Thembi, greetings to you, brother Thembi, as well. Greetings, Steve and family. This is going to be a good one. Looking forward to this session. Let's go. It's a pleasure seeing you, brother Thembi. I hope you are well. Thank you for your feedback as well and being part of this session today. Queen Aloshi says, hello, Bullrun family. Eager to be educated on this unique topic. Grateful to God for the amazing devs who are committed to giving us knowledge. Thank you so much, Queen Aloshi. It's a pleasure seeing you in these various platforms. Thank you for your commitment, your consistency as well. Very much appreciated. Queen Patricia says, hello, brother Steve, Mama Wino, and Bullrun family. We are more than happy to be here for another educational session. This is really humbling to read because we are also always very thrilled and excited to be part of this session. Thanks to you, community. You make it so lively. Your commitment and consistency gives us even more energy and more eagerness to participate and to prepare well for these sessions as well. The aim is, like you said, we want to just be informed and educated so that we can make rational decisions. My brother Abdullahi says, warming welcome, Bullrun warriors. Hi, Steve, visionary leader. May today's session bring groundbreaking insights. Queen Mama Wino, shining star of Bullrun, your presence illuminates today's stream. Thank you so much for your kind and well wishes, my brother Abdullahi. We can only give it back to you. You're just as illuminating, encouraging, energetic, positive energy. Your leadership, very, very much appreciated, my brother Abdullahi. And I'm glad that you're looking forward to today's session. I hope you were able to take something away from it today. Queen Amadou, happy to be part of the program. We are very happy having you here, and we are also very happy to have to be part of this session today. Brother Glenn says, Grand Rising Bullrun Life family, we are blessed to be here at this time, learning and getting ready for this upcoming Bullrun. Thank you again, Brother Steve, for another day of bringing us together. It's you, community, that are to be thanked for showing up and being part of these sessions. This goes a long way because the more consistent we are, the more we come together as a community, the better it is, and the more awareness it brings, and it brings curiosity for others as well to be like, what are these 50 people or 40 people or 100 people doing consistently? Let me tune in, let me listen. I want to be part of this. Queen Esther says, hello, Steve, Mama Wino, and Bullrun family. Happy to be here again and ready to learn more. It's a pleasure having you with us, Queen Esther. Such a pleasure. Thank you for your time, your commitment. You are very much appreciated. Queen Marigi says, hello, Brother Steve and Mom Queen Awino and Bullrun family. Blessed to be part of you all. We are very blessed to have you as well, and it's a pleasure having you. Thank you for taking your time to be part of this session today. Queen Alice says, greetings, King Steve, Queen Mother, and great family. Looking forward to great things ahead. Well said. We're also very, very excited and looking forward to what the future has for us. And everything is really aligning perfectly for us, community. And we can't be more grateful. It's a pleasure having you in the community, and thank you for taking your time for being part of this session today, Queen Alice. Queen Kube says, hello, Brother Steve, Mama Wino, and Bullrun family. Thank you, our King, for dedicating your time once again to educate us. Greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for your kind words. You're also very, very much appreciated for taking your time and being part of these sessions today. Your consistency, your commitment is very much appreciated. Queen Sarah says, hello, Bullrun community, Brother Steve and Mama Wino. Hello, right back to you too, Queen Sarah. My brother Eric says, hello, Brother Steve and Mama Wino. Hello, community. It's another great opportunity to learn from our crypto guru. Let's learn and earn. Well said, Brother Eric. It's always a pleasure seeing you in the community and all other social platforms. Your commitment, your consistency is very much appreciated. It's always a pleasure seeing you in the community. Queen Mother Caroline says, greetings, everyone. Good things takes time. If everyone is moving forward together, then success will take care of itself. We have the best of the best. Beautifully said, Queen Mother Caroline. Thank you so much for input, your feedback, for always being consistently showing up in these community events and supporting the movement and being part of the movement. Not just being part, but being in the middle of it. You're not just here to participate, but we are here to take over, right? So very much appreciated, Queen Mother Caroline. Queen Tupe says, good evening, community, Brother Steve and Mama Wino. Good evening back at you too, Queen Tupe. Happy to have you here with us today. Brother Lincoln says, very informative, Brother Steve. Finger red thumb, number one. Thank you so much for your comment. I'm glad that you're part of this session today as well. I'm glad that there was something that you were able to take away from this today. Queen Aloshi says, oh, my family, do you realize how great our ecosystem is? Amazing devs who really care for us, small traders, keeping our best interests at heart. We are so blessed to be here. Thank you so much for your feedback, Queen Aloshi. Your comments are very much appreciated. Queen Mother Wino says, greetings, queens and kings. We are getting closer to the long-awaited bull run. Thank you, Steve, for developing such an amazing ecosystem with the community in mind. Liquidity is the bloodline. Beautifully said, Queen Mother Wino. I just want to take this time also to highlight you and to tell you that really your leadership, by example, your commitment, the love for the community, your consistency, the daily tweets you put out day in, day out, tirelessly, not missing a beat. It's very much appreciated as well. So thank you for all the efforts that you put in. You're a true leader by example, and you're very much appreciated and loved as well. My brother Dave says, thanks for the great session. Who knows if their plan was to take over Bitcoin, manipulate it, and liquidate everyone. Well said, Brother Dave. And I'm going to leave your comment out there. So I'm not going to comment anything about this, but this is a great point to just let it sink in, let it marinate, community. There's really nothing more to add to this. I'll just leave it at that. Queen Patricia says, thank you, Brother Steve, to come to our rescue. Bullrun ecosystem is a lifesaver. Thank you, community, as well, for your consistency, your commitment. You make this ecosystem really what it is. You know, it's a community-driven, it's a decentralized platform. So it takes all of us for it to succeed. Queen Mel says, hello, family, greetings. Hello back to you, Queen Mel. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic, and thank you for being part of this session today. We have Queen Val says, let's hit the like button, family, and let's ensure to leave a comment after the live ends. Absolutely, let's ensure that we will be engaging with this session today, as it will reach more people and bring more awareness to us community. And then Queen Mel again says, greetings to you, Mom and Steve. Thanks for today educational session. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday back to you too. You're very much appreciated, and thank you for your commitment. Queen Nancy says, thank you, Steve, for all. Knowledge is power. We believe, we, Bullrun community, we can, and we are already there dancing the tune. God bless you. Thank you so much, Queen Nancy. You're very much appreciated. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your consistency. And with that said, community, absolutely, there's no better way than to wrap up this session today. We are already there dancing the tune. We have everything lined up for us, community. And let's keep focused. Let's keep going. Let's keep our focus that success is all we know, community. We have so many things going for us. We are in the right place. The timing is very important. We are at the right time, in the right place, in the right community, using the right platform, and we have the right community, and we're doing the right thing right now. We're informed, educated, inspired, and we are ready to really taste the success. Like Queen Mother Winner just said, we can see the finish line right in front of us. We can smell it, we can taste it. It's right before us, right? And we're about to embrace what we've been waiting for so long. Community, I want to thank you all for taking your time, being part of this session today. With that said, I want to wish you a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you for participating today. Your comments were appreciated, and your feedbacks were appreciated as well. Wish you all a wonderful rest of your week, until we meet again, latest by Saturday when we have our Telegram session. Till then, have a wonderful day. Stay blessed, stay focused. Until we meet again, bye-bye, everyone.